Should the Panthers franchise tag Brian Burns? Should the Panthers trade Brian Burns? Should they re-sign him? Should they let him walk and get some kind of compensation with the franchise tag? Let's talk about it. Yesterday, we had a report coming out of The Athletic by Joe Person, who has great work as always, that said last year the Panthers were willing to meet Brian Burns almost in the middle, at least what we would call the middle, offering him 5 years, $27 million per year. But Burns' number was $30 million per year. So you're talking about a difference of $15 million. Now, what we don't know is the structure of that deal, the signing bonus, the guaranteed money, the non-guaranteed money, the built-in pieces of it, talking about performance and getting those extra incentives that come along with that. We don't know that side of it. But I would say, if I'm being honest, that's a pretty decent offer. And to only be that far away, 15 million, 3 million per year. But again, I don't know the logistics and the details within the actual contract to know. But now we have a discussion. Half the fan base wants him gone, half the fan base wants him here. You got people to say he's going to be overpaid if we pay him 30 million, that we can't afford it. And I think there's truth to all of those pieces. Now, I think Brian Burns should be here. I think he should, because I don't know how you replace his production. And for those that want to come at me and say, well, what production? Look at the other 3 or 4 guys that are on this roster right now that you're replacing. Brian Burns has almost more sacks than all of them combined. So you move Brian Burns away. How are we going to fix that? You're not going to get it in the draft because we're likely going wide receiver, offensive line with that first pick that we take in the second round. You're not going to be going out here deciding to get an edge rusher. Now you could, but then you're putting those other pieces even further behind. And yeah, I know you can go through free agency and hope that you land and get someone that way, but you got to pay them. Now, to the flip side of that, I will lean on the side of some of the other folks that say it's too much money. One, I've always said, I'm not here to talk about people's money. What you get paid is what you get paid. You earned it, you go for it, do it. That's a lot of money. And you look at the structure of this. Now, the thing about it is it's like, how is that going to be structured? Because the cap hit can be spread out. So the reason you have a Brant Tillis in here, think about the big Patrick Mahomes deal, is you have someone in that can help space out how much the cap hit is. So this first year, it could be like 15, 20 million, and you down the road have that increasing year over year. With that said, though, you've got to really think about that as your plan. So Brian Burns is going to be here long term. If you go this route, 5 years is a long ways. During that time, you're going to have Derek Brown that's going to need, I don't know, it's going to be a similar contract, but a big contract. You've got to think about J.C. Horn. You've got now, 3 years, depending on if you take the 5th-year option, which I'm guessing you would, for Bryce Young. And then you're going to end up having to pay him a mega contract. So within those years, you got to figure out how do you make this work. And then how do you attract other players? And with where the roster is today, we know we don't have a lot of money to spend. 24, 25 million. Caps haven't been updated yet. But like I said, Mike K reporting on that. So it's a decision to be made. And people may talk about his production and say, well, it hasn't been fantastic. But I like to go back and, like I said, one talking about the production, but taking a look at this past year at the lack of opportunities. And when you are a terrible football team, there is a chance for teams to run the ball on you. Now, I know I went back, pulled together some stats. We were within 1 score in 12 out of 17 games going into the fourth quarter. So within 1 score, which means teams aren't technically running the ball down our throat, or we're up big and you're avoiding those pass rush situations, but it doesn't mean you're trailing. And in some of those games, even though we were down by 1 score, some of them, the opposing team was scoring right into the fourth quarter, as soon as the fourth quarter started, or they went up by, a significant amount within that fourth quarter, and it may not been as close, once you got in there. And at that point, yes, they can run the ball. So what are the Panthers going to do? I hope they figure out a contract to keep him here. At this point, I don't think you're going to be able to go out into the market and get the 2 first-round picks and the second-round pick that the Rams were offering. You can go the franchise tag route, use non-exclusive, see if he gets an offer, and then you get the 2 first-round picks in exchange. That's a possibility. But I don't know that any team's gonna be willing to do that. Like, a team that really wants to sign him is gonna wanna give up 2 first-round picks. It could be out there, but I don't think we're gonna have this really big monster trade that we franchise tag him, and then, we have another team that wants to go and pick him up. I think it's gonna be one of those where he's gonna have to negotiate. Now, the window's open. We have until March 5th to designate the franchise tag. That's still not happened yet. So that's what we'll watch. And what type of designation does he get? Again, he doesn't have to sign, he gets to negotiate all the way up until June. And the last player that was franchise tagged by the Panthers was Taylor Moton in 21. Ended up working out a contract with him. So there's hope that it can happen. But again, I know it's different factors, people involved in this situation now. Anyways, let me know what y'all think. Y'all have a good one.